Have you ever imagined what it truly takes to stay strong and steady when you're living alone after 80? It might sound difficult, even scary at first, but the truth is, many seniors today are living independently into their 80s and 90s, not because they have superhuman strength or perfect health, but because they've built their lives on a few unshakable pillars. If you're watching this, chances are you're either living alone or preparing for a stage of life where you might. And you're not alone in this journey. Millions of older adults are asking themselves the same question: how do I not just survive, but truly thrive while living alone after 80? We're going to walk through 5 essential pillars, core parts of daily living that can keep you safe, steady, and confident, even when no one's around. These aren't complex medical tricks or unrealistic routines. These are real-life truths that are working for people just like you. Whether you're feeling unsure about what lies ahead or already trying to manage life on your own, this is for you. Stick with me until the very end, because the 5th pillar might surprise you, and it should be the key that holds everything else together. Issue Pillar 1, a reliable daily routine. There's something powerful about knowing exactly what your day looks like, especially when you're living alone after 80. A solid, reliable daily routine can become your anchor. It gives structure to your day, reduces uncertainty, and helps you feel in control, even when the world around you feels a little shaky. When you wake up each morning with a plan, knowing when you'll eat, move, rest, and connect, you take charge of your life rather than waiting for life to happen to you. One of the biggest risks of aging alone is falling into passivity. Without anyone else to nudge you along, it's all too easy to let time slip by in silence. Breakfast gets delayed, movement becomes optional. Before you know it, entire days pass with very little activity or engagement, and that's when things start to unravel, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. 2. Loneliness creeps in, energy dips, and that spark that once kept you going starts to fade. But a daily routine counters that. It gives you something to look forward to, whether it's a cup of coffee on your porch at sunrise, a gentle stretch before breakfast, a walk around the block at noon, or a phone call with a friend in the evening. These small, predictable touch points help bring stability and purpose. And that purpose is everything. It reminds you that each day has value, that your time still matters, that your life, even now, is still being lived with intention. A routine also helps you stay healthy without having to think too hard. When meals are scheduled, you eat better. When you plan movement, your body stays looser and more responsive. When you set aside time for medication or rest, you don't forget or push it off. All these little habits work together like gears in a well-oiled clock, keeping your life running smoothly, even without external support. I know a man named Harold who lives alone at 84. His wife passed a few years back, and he didn't want to be a burden to his children. At first, he drifted. He stayed in bed longer, skipped meals, and spent hours watching TV. But one day, he decided enough was enough. He pulled out a notepad and wrote down a schedule. It wasn't complicated. Wake at 7 hour light breakfast, read the paper, take a walk, prepare lunch, rest in the afternoon, call someone in the evening. That was it, but sticking to it changed everything. He felt more alert, more alive, and that simple structure gave him a new lease on life. If you're living alone or preparing to, don't underestimate the strength of a good daily rhythm. It may not seem like much at first, but it can become your lifeline, your foundation. So ask yourself, what does a day that feels good look like for me? Then start building it, one piece at a time. Ultra. Pillar 2. A clear communication lifeline. Living alone after 80 doesn't have to mean being isolated, but it does mean you need to be intentional about staying connected. One of the most essential pillars to surviving and thriving solo is having a clear communication lifeline. That means knowing exactly who to call when you need help, having a plan for emergencies, keeping a regular line of contact with people who care about you, Many older adults hesitate to reach out because they don't want to be a bother. That's understandable. But here's the thing. Connection isn't a burden. It's a basic human need. And when you live alone, staying in touch isn't just about chatting. It's about safety. It's about knowing that someone will notice if you go silent. It's about knowing that if something happens, a fall, a sudden illness, you won't be left waiting for hours or days. I once knew a woman named Ellen, 81 years old, who set up a brilliant system. Every day, she sent a simple good morning text to her daughter and her neighbor. If she didn't check in by 9 or 10 a.m., they'd call her, and if she didn't answer by 10 or 11, they knew to stop by. That small routine made all the difference. Ellen said it gave her peace of mind just knowing someone would notice, and it gave her family peace of mind too. Technology today makes it easier than ever to maintain this lifeline. You don't need to be a tech wizard. A basic cell phone with a speed dial list is a powerful tool. Emergency buttons, voice-activated assistants, and even landlines with programmable numbers can keep you connected. And if you're more comfortable with pen and paper, write down your emergency contacts and post them by the phone, the fridge, and your nightstand. Redundancy is safety, but beyond just emergencies, this pillar is about emotional support too. Set a weekly check-in with a friend. Call your grandkids on Sunday. Send a birthday card. These small acts build a rhythm of connection. When you feel seen and heard, even from afar, it makes facing the day much easier. You don't feel forgotten, you feel rooted. What's important is that your communication plan is simple. Whether it's through a device or a door knock, what matters is that you're never completely alone in spirit, even if you live alone in space. So take a moment today to ask yourself, who are my people? Who do I trust to be there if I need them? Then take the next step. Reach out, set up a routine, and keep that lifeline strong. Because connection isn't optional, it's one of the keys to surviving and thriving after 80. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe to Wise Living and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Pillar 3. A daily purpose you wake up for. When you're living alone after 80, your day doesn't organize itself the way it used to. There's no workplace to report to, no children to raise, no household bustling with demand, and that can be freeing, but it can also quietly rob your days of structure and meaning. That's why one of the most essential pillars for surviving on your own is having a daily purpose you wake up for. Without purpose, time begins to blur, days feel empty, long, or even pointless, and over time, that sense of purposelessness can wear you down. It's not just about being bored, it's about your spirit losing its direction. Your health, your mood, and even your memory can all decline faster when you don't have something pulling you forward each day. But here's the good news. Purpose doesn't have to be grand. You don't need to start a business or write a novel. Purpose can be found in the smallest things. It might be your garden that needs tending, your morning walk to the mailbox, the crossword puzzle you refuse to leave unfinished, the stray cat you've taken to feeding, who now waits for you by the porch. I remember talking with a man named Walt, who lived alone in a quiet town. Every morning, he'd call one old friend from his list of high school classmates, just to check in, just to share a laugh. It became his mission to reach out to everyone he'd known before the world changed. That was his daily purpose. It gave him a reason to get out of bed, comb his hair, and face the day with heart. Purpose gives you rhythm. It anchors your time and brings value to the hours. And when you live alone, that rhythm is what keeps loneliness from creeping in. Even the act of making your bed, choosing your clothes, preparing your meals, can become meaningful rituals. Reminders that you still matter, that your life is still in motion. It doesn't have to please anyone else, or meet someone else's standard. It just needs to be something that lifts you when the morning feels heavy. Something that helps you say, today, I have a reason to keep going. What tiny victory do I look forward to claiming each day? That's your purpose. And holding on to it, nurturing it, is one of the most powerful ways to survive alone after 80. Because a life with purpose, no matter how quiet or simple, is always a life worth living. Pillar 4. Connection with one trusted person. Living alone after 80 doesn't mean you have to go through everything by yourself. In fact, one of the most powerful things you can do for your well-being is to maintain a steady connection with just one trusted person. It doesn't need to be a crowd, just one person who truly sees you, hears you, cares about what happens in your day. This isn't about fighting off loneliness with noise. It's about anchoring your life with someone who helps you feel grounded. Someone who remembers your favorite pie flavor, notices when you sound tired on the phone, asks how your doctor visit went. This kind of connection builds a safety net, both emotionally and practically, when you're facing the challenges of aging on your own. Now, I'm not talking about casual check-ins or polite conversations. I mean a real connection. Someone you trust enough to share your thoughts, your fears, your jokes, even the little odd moments that no one else would understand. That one friend, sibling, or even neighbor who makes you feel like you're still part of a shared world. Think about it this way. When you have a person to laugh with, complain to, or simply tell, I had a strange dream last night, it keeps your sense of self intact. You're reminded that you matter, not just to yourself, but to someone else. And that can make all the difference on a quiet Sunday afternoon, or after a rough appointment. I remember hearing about a woman named Lorraine, 82, who lived alone after her husband passed. She didn't have children nearby, and most of her old friends had moved or passed on. But she had one friend, an old co-worker named Clara, who called every Thursday at 2 p.m. without fail, rain or shine. They talked about nothing in particular. Sometimes it was soup recipes, sometimes it was aches and pains. But for Lorraine, that call was a lifeline. It reminded her she wasn't forgotten, that she was still part of someone's weekly rhythm. That connection becomes a quiet form of protection. Someone to speak up for you if you ever can't. Someone who knows what your normal looks like and can spot when something's off. And let's not underestimate the emotional impact when you know you'll be missed. That someone would worry if they didn't hear from you. Your entire outlook on life can shift. Suddenly, you're not just drifting, you're connected. And that connection brings comfort, dignity, and a renewed sense of belonging. So don't wait for a crowd. Find your one. It could be someone from church, a cousin, a neighbor, even a friend from years ago you've lost touch with. Reach out. Nurture that bond, because surviving alone after 80 isn't really about being alone. It's about building a circle of trust, even if it's just one person wide. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe to Wise Living and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Pillar 5. A daily sense of purpose. When you wake up in the morning and know exactly why you're getting out of bed, life feels different. It doesn't matter if you're 25 or 85. Purpose isn't reserved for the young or the employed. It's what keeps your spirit alive. After 80, especially when living alone, that sense of purpose becomes your inner fuel. It gives shape to your days and meaning to your actions. Purpose doesn't have to be something grand, like saving the world or writing a best-selling novel. For many older adults, it can be as simple as watering your plants every morning, calling your niece every Sunday, making sure the birds in your yard are fed. These aren't small things. They're anchors. They create rhythm. They remind you that what you do still matters. When people lose their sense of purpose, time starts to feel empty. One day blurs into the next. You begin to feel like a passenger in your own life instead of the one steering it. That's when loneliness creeps in, not just because you're alone, but because you start feeling invisible. Having a reason to care, to show up, to participate, even in small ways, changes that. I once knew a man named Harold. 84, who had lost his wife, his job, and most of his friends. He was living alone and didn't have much family left. But every morning, without fail, he'd go outside with a small notebook. 2. Write down the weather and what birds he saw. He started mailing those notes to his great-granddaughter in Minnesota, who loved birds. She'd write back every month, asking questions about the robins or the hawk. That simple exchange, daily bird notes, became Harold's purpose. It gave him something to look forward to, a reason to pay attention, a connection that stretched across the miles. Purpose can also come from helping others, sharing stories with someone younger, teaching a neighbor how to knit, volunteering from home by writing letters to troops, mentoring online. Just because you're not as physically active as you once were, doesn't mean you can't still make an impact. In fact, your wisdom is needed now more than ever. And don't overlook self-growth as a form of purpose. Learning to paint, practicing meditation, keeping a journal, these are all powerful ways to stay connected to yourself. You're still growing even now, and that's a beautiful thing. Purpose keeps the mind alert, the emotions stable, the heart open. Without it, life can start to feel like you're just passing time. But with it, even the simplest moments become rich. You become the author of your day again, not just a reader flipping through the pages. So ask yourself, what makes me feel needed? What makes my eyes light up, or my shoulders relax? Start there. Your purpose doesn't have to impress anyone. It only needs to mean something to you. Because surviving alone after 80 isn't about counting the hours. It's about making the hours count. And your purpose, no matter how quiet or personal, is the light that helps you do just that. Final thoughts. So now you've seen the 5 essential pillars that can help you survive and even thrive alone after 80. But here's the truth. Surviving alone isn't just about staying alive. It's about living in a way that still feels like your life, one that reflects who you are, what you value, and how you want to spend your time. Aging doesn't mean fading into the background. It means stepping into a quieter, wiser chapter and choosing how to write it. If you're still here, it means something inside you is stirring. Maybe you've already taken a few of these steps. Maybe you've been thinking about it for a while. Or maybe today is the first time you've asked yourself, what kind of life do I want? Now that's a powerful question, and it's never too late to answer it. The beauty of these pillars, health, social connection, security, adaptability, and purpose, is that they're all within reach. They don't require a fortune or a perfect past. They just ask you to care enough about yourself to take the next small step. One conversation, one decision. That's how change begins. Even after 80, you're not broken. You're not too late. You are still the main character of your life, and every day you wake up is a blank page. You get to fill with courage, with kindness, and with choice. Don't let fear write your story. Don't let loneliness hold the pen. The truth is, you've already survived so much. You've already proven your strength. Now's the time to live with intention and to make peace with who you are, and where you want to go next. Because even if you're living alone, you're not alone in this journey. So many others are walking the same path, quietly, bravely, sometimes with doubt, but always with hope. You're a part of that too. And every small choice you make to take care of yourself, to stay connected, to find meaning, is a gift. Not just to yourself, but to the world. Thank you for joining Wise Living today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.